Is the book always better? Let's find out. I'm going to go ahead and assume if you're here, it means you love books and you love talking about books. So hey, welcome. I'm Gianna and this is the McDonald Chronicles, where we talk all about books for moms and sometimes books for their littles too. But today is definitely for the moms, specifically those of you who are into thriller / I would say horror book. Today we're going to be answering the age-old question, is the book always better? With Stephen King's Misery. As always, I'll put some chapters down below, so if you want to skip ahead to the part you're really looking forward to, please feel free. I know we're all short on time here, and I appreciate that you're using your spare minutes with me. Just to give you a little background before we jump into which is better, book versus movie, Misery follows the story of an author named Paul Sheldon. We're following Paul in this one, who's an author. His car crashes in a snowstorm, and he ends up in the home of his #1 fan, Annie, which ends up being a not so fun time for Paul. Okay, so I'm about 100 pages into it, and here's what I can say. Stephen King wastes not 1 second, not a moment, not even a breath. He just jumps right into what is going on, which I love. There's no prologue of, oh my goodness, Paul is here and this is terrible for him, but let's go back in time and see how we got here. No, Paul is here. Paul is in his personal hell, and I guess we'll just figure out how we got there eventually. I thought I read somewhere that misery was technically addiction, so I guess this wouldn't be his worst fear, but it would be interesting to read more on how this book came about, because it's very meta to write a book about an author being kidnapped. So it's very, very interesting. So far, at the 100-page point, my one concern for the movie adaptation really is going to be a lot of this book, at least a lot of the first 100 pages, is Paul's thoughts. There's a lot of this happens, and then we're really reading about how Paul is reacting to it, how he's playing out all these scenarios in his mind about what he thinks is going to happen versus what actually happens. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to compute to movie form, because I doubt they're just going to do a voiceover every single time. That will be very interesting to see. We're at the 200-page point now, and this is going to be so nitpicky, but there is a book within this book, and one of the plot points in the storyline is Annie gets Paul a typewriter, and it's this really old typewriter, so some of the keys are missing, and so the N is missing. Therefore, in parts of the book, they have to fill in the N's when Paul is writing his new novel, and it's so hard to read. It's so hard to read. I'm not sure why it's so hard to read for me, but it is so hard to read. Honestly, it's almost as if my brain is skipping over the ends. I think it would be easier for me to read if the ends weren't there. I'm really not sure, but the handwriting ends are just a lot. So I find that the pages where I'm reading Paul's book that he's writing during this process are harder for me to read just because of the font. Totally a nitpicky thing. One thing I'm really enjoying so far that was not evident in the first 100 pages is the author's craft. So Paul, because he's an author, and obviously an author wrote this book, is going through different things that authors do. At one point he mentions having this binder, and he says to Annie, I don't have my binder, so I'm gonna need all of the Misery books. She asks him what he's talking about, and he's saying he has this binder of what every character was doing, the timeline, how pieces fit together. And I love that. As a reader, I appreciate when the author makes sure there are no plot holes. It's so interesting to be in the brain of an author within this book, and I just love the premise of it. And the more I read, the more I love the premise of the book. The fact that we're following an author, writing about an author who is trying to write this book, and again, living in his personal hell. Just like the first 100 pages, there are a lot of inner monologues with Paul. I'm still looking forward to see how they include those inner monologues within the movie. Okay, I finished it. Here are my thoughts. First and foremost, as I was approaching the end, this is the large print version, so I have more pages than the normal book. I think the normal book is a little over 300 pages. This one was 450. But as I was approaching the 300 mark, I just kept thinking, okay, this is it. But this can't be it because we have 150 pages left. How is this not it? How is more going to happen? What on earth is going to happen? Wait a second. I just think that really speaks to the book, that there were so many moments where he could have tied it and he said, no, I'm just going to keep going from here. just to extend the torture. But we never leave these four walls. Most of the book takes place in Annie's house. And to me, I'm thinking that must be the easiest movie to make if you need one setting and pretty much two characters. Overall, as a book, I mean, this is the thrill. This is the thrill of reading a book because I spent probably a good 300 pages being absolutely repulsed by what was happening in the book. And it was like when you watch a movie with one eye open. I was literally reading the book, half looking away and thinking, I can't read any more of this. I can't read any more of this. This is crazy. This is crazy. I can't read any more of this. And then I just kept reading and I kept reading. Overall, I finished this book very quickly. I think it took me less than 2 days. I would give this 4 stars, probably 4.5 stars. I love it. And to be honest, I'm not a big Stephen King person. I've read The Shining and it was not my favorite. And it wasn't even that it was bad. It just took me so long to get through. I just could not find a groove with the book. And I can say that it was a good book at the end, but I just could not find a groove. This book, I could not put it down. It was so good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I mostly enjoyed it just because I liked the fact that we were reading about an author writing a book, but it was written by an author. And it was so good. It was so good. I'm very excited to watch the movie. And I hope the movie does not disappoint. You guys, I just finished the movie and I have some thoughts. Here's the deal. Overall, I'm bummed. And there's nothing wrong with the movie as a standalone. Let me start with that. Let me back up. There's nothing wrong with the movie as a standalone. The movie Misery is a fine movie. If you didn't read the book Misery and you've only seen the movie Misery and you're thinking to yourself, I love the movie Misery, I can't believe you didn't like it, it's because you didn't read the book. If you've read the book Misery and you also love the movie, I have questions. My questions are, but why? I feel as though what I just watched was the PG version of the book. And I'm pretty sure the movie is rated R, which makes absolutely no sense to me. I'm not quite sure why it's rated R. There's nothing in there that says that it needs to be rated R. Not one thing. I can't think of a single thing. The actor who plays Paul Sheldon, James Caan, his name is, I enjoy him as an actor, but I think part of my problem with the movie is in the book, Paul Sheldon is quite literally a shell of a man. A shell of a man. And you see him breaking down throughout the book as the book goes on. At times, and he's saying like, this is so pathetic, I'm so pathetic, blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking to yourself as a reader, yeah, you're being really pathetic, but also I understand why you're being so pathetic. And in the movie, that just didn't compute. Like the Paul Sheldon in the movie did things, and again, I don't want to give any spoilers, but the Paul Sheldon in the movie did things that the Paul Sheldon in the book thought about doing, but never actually did. For example, I don't think this is a spoiler, but at one point, Paul in the book is saying, oh, I'm addicted to these pills. I'm only going to take one at a time, so I'm not addicted to them anymore, and I'll hide them, blah, 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 blah. But he never actually does that because he's so addicted to the pills. And again, he's falling apart. He's a shell of a man throughout the entire book. And he does seem helpless at points, like completely helpless, completely hopeless at points. In the movie, that's one of the first things I picked up on was that Paul in the movie is tucking away one of the pills. As soon as that happened, I turned to my husband and I said, no, I can't. I just think that Paul's personality is such a huge part of the book. I mean, he is the book. We're looking at the book from Paul's point of view. It's full of Paul's thoughts, full of them. It's just full of Paul's thoughts. And the fact that Paul in the book is almost a completely different man than Paul in the movie, I feel like then why even make the movie? You can't say it's the same. There were some additional characters in the movie that I did enjoy. There was a sheriff and his deputy who was his wife that added some sort of comedic relief to the movie, but it's not a funny book. It's not supposed to be funny. And I don't know, I'd be curious to see if Stephen King ever commented on the movie or if other people, I'm sure other people have also commented on the movie and what their thoughts are. honestly, I got to the end of the movie and I just thought to myself, I don't even know what movie Paul is so upset about. Nothing bad happened to him. And obviously bad things happened to him, but they were so bad in the book. The things that happened in the book to Paul were so bad. I felt like movie Paul was a wuss. I don't know. Comparatively to what actually happened to book Paul, nothing bad happened to movie Paul. I don't even know. Nothing bad happened to him at all. I also wanted to say, one thing I noticed right away in the movie was Annie had these redeeming qualities about her in the movie where she did start off very, very nice. And I just felt as though in the book, she didn't really start off nice. She, of course, had her moments where you could see she was trying to be nice, but deep down you knew she had issues. But in the movie, it didn't feel like that. And I don't know, and again, I don't make movies, so I know it's a little bit different as far as how you have to develop the characters in a movie, because you don't have Paul's inner monologue. You can't explain stuff, so you just have to show it. And so maybe it's more captivating as an audience in a movie to watch her go from, this woman is great, she saved Paul's life, blah, 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 to, oh my gosh, this woman is torturing him. Maybe that's more aligned with movie plot points versus what had to happen in the book. I don't know. Again, as a standalone, Misery the movie is fine. It's got some great actors. It is a good movie. I enjoyed watching it. But if I'm going to compare it to the book, it is not the same. And the book definitely won out for sure. To wrap up this book versus movie, I would obviously say in this case, the book was 100 times better than the movie. I am definitely going to do this again because I am curious. I know out there somewhere, there is a movie better than the book. Maybe there is. I highly doubt it, but maybe there is somewhere a movie that is better than the book. So if you liked this type of video, if you want me to do more movies to book comparison, please let me know in the comments down below. Give me some suggestions for some books that you'd like to see me read and then watch the movies of. If you've ever read Misery or seen the movie, let me know your thoughts as well. Do you like the movie? Do you think the movie is better than the book? I'd love to hear it. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up so I know to make more videos like this for you. And of course, consider subscribing so I can keep making more videos. Happy reading, and I'll see you next time.